everyone, and welcome to another Simple Sunday video. Today I'm sharing a card using a stamp set from Uniko Studio called Lable Love Thank You. And I'm going to start with two pieces of white cardstock that is slightly smaller than my card base. And I'm using this stencil from Holtz and dried Marigold distress ink. I was going to use the ink pad directly on top of my paper, but I realized here that it wasn't going to work, so I ended up using an ink blending tool instead. To make sure that my stencil didn't move when coloring the paper, I adhered it with some masking tape. I want the color to be as dark as it could possibly be, so I'm pressing my ink blending tool quite hard, and I'm also going over the same area many times to make sure I get a good coverage. When the piece was finally colored, I removed my mask and put the piece aside to dry for a little while. Then I'm taking my other piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to have this piece behind my card front, and I want it to be the same color, so I'm coloring the edges of this piece using the same distress ink. And now that the card front is dry, I'm going to use this embossing folder from Holtz called Gridlock and run it through my Big Shot. And here's the embossed card front, and I'm adhering it to the background piece using my tape runner. And I'm also going to cut some banners as an embellishment on the card, but I want them to be the same color as everything else, so I'm using my distress ink again to color a piece of white cardstock. I'm adding less color on one part of the cardstock so I can cut two banners with different colors. And here I'm just using my paper trimmer to cut two pieces of different sizes. And to make my banners, I am quickly measuring how long my banners need to be, and then I'm cutting the banner ends by making a small slit in the middle, and then I just cut from the corners to the end of the slit. This way I get a nice banner shape every time. And now for my sentiment, I am using this stamp set from Uniko Studio, and I am of course going to stamp this in the same color of distress ink as I've been using before. And when stamping with distress ink, you may not get a very intense color, so I'm using my stamp positioner to help me stamp the label twice and get a darker color. And I'm also going to use one of the thank you sentiments in this stamp set, and I'm stamping this in the same distress ink again. This time I'm not going to stamp twice since I want to make sure that I get a crisp image, and luckily I managed to get a dark and crisp image without stamping twice. And now I want to cut out the sentiment, but I didn't really have any punches that fit, so I'm going to cut out the sentiment using a circle die from Spellbinders, and then I'll add a scalloped circle in the back. And I'm adding some colors on the die cut here to cover up some of the white that is showing before I adhere it to my scalloped circle. And I'm also adding some color to the edge of the scalloped circle to make sure that it stands out a bit more. And before I adhere my banners to the card front, I'm covering up the white edges with my ink pad. And I'm adhering them together using my tape runner, and then I will adhere the sentiment using foam squares to get a bit of dimension to the card. And when I have all of the pieces adhered to the card front, I will be adhering it to my card base. And I am using quite a lot of adhesive here to make sure that it will stay in place. And as a final touch, I'm adding some enamel dots here and there on the card front. And I'm using some yellows and some red ones. I didn't have any orange ones that fit, so I decided to use whatever I had. And that was my card for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you again next time. Thanks for watching.